Hi everyone, welcome to our live stream today and thank you for joining. I'm excited for today's session. I'll be talking with Rachel from our team who does a lot of video marketing for Cliniko. If you've seen any of our Cliniko this week or tip of the week videos, that's Rachel that is involved in those. And we're going to talk through today how she goes about them, why we started doing them, and some really sort of practical tips on creating video content for your marketing. So I'm going to bring Rachel in to join me now. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Joel.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone, and thanks so much for attending the webinar today.
Thank you so much for joining. I'm really keen for this conversation we're going to have today. So just a tiny bit of background. So Rachel's been with Cliniko team for, it's almost 5 years now?
Yes. Come September.
So Rachel joined us in the customer support team and still does do customer support, but started to migrate towards this video marketing side pretty organically with us. It was back in a team meetup a few years ago where she kind of came to our meetup and had just done a video for us unexpectedly, which was a how to use Cliniko video, which she sort of demoed to the team and said she was interested to build this kind of thing for us. And we were very impressed by the video that was done. And that was kind of, kickstarting getting into the video content for Cliniko. So I was going to ask you, Rachel, so what was your motivation to start and do a video and get started with, I guess, that original demo video back then?
Yeah, it sounds kind of crazy, but I had no video experience, before doing that video. So it was kind of intimidating at first to even think about creating a video, but it actually came from the needs from our customers. Working in customer support, we would get a lot of questions, a lot of common questions. And I said to myself, could we solve these questions in a way that was different from what we were doing before? We have these great help articles, we have these great blog posts, but what about video? So I said to myself, okay, let's maybe sit down, come up with, a way to solve that problem. And, it was through video that I sort of discovered, hey, this is a really great way to connect with our customers and a new sort of skill for me to learn, which I was quite up for the challenge for and excited.
And what do you think, makes like video special? So the ones that you do for Cliniko this week, I don't know, maybe people can let us know in the comments if they've seen you do a Cliniko this week video or one of the videos you've put out primarily through our social media. But what do you think makes video special compared to, a help article or a different form of sort of communicating that?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just that sort of human, sort of casual voice, sort of walking you through the process. It might be overwhelming to read through 20 steps, but if someone can sort of walk you through it visually and in a way that might make it clearer, I think that's a really huge advantage of video. Again, I feel like I'm always talking to a friend versus, trying to sort of go into the hardcore technical side of things. So I'm really excited about video aspect.
Considering how we kind of stumbled into it, you came with this original video that was more about a how to Cliniko type video, and it really evolved because we saw it and everyone on the team loved it and just wanted to start doing some regular content videos from you. We're just excited to see what you were doing with it. So I would say that we kind of, didn't come into Cliniko this week with huge strategy. We didn't come in thinking like, we're going to do it for these reasons and we're all planned and, here's the real need. We kind of just experimented with it. And it's been now like 3 years almost, I think, that we've been doing Cliniko this week consistently. So I'm wondering, considering we came in unexpectedly, is there anything that surprised you with it? Like, has there been, things you've learned or impacts it's had or anything like that that's been a surprise, looking back at it?
Yeah, I mean, just getting started, because I wasn't really, aware of what it took to create a video, I was really surprised about how extensive the process can be. You see these videos, they can be 1 minute to 20 minutes, but you don't realize the work that goes behind it. So the biggest thing that really surprised me again was just the amount of prep that it took. You have to think sometimes, depending on the type of video you're doing, who's your audience, who is it for? But again, my idea coming into it was, okay, let's just get this information out there. And it was through that experience that I started picking up more and more tricks and tips and just seeing the full picture when it comes to creating content.
Okay. So people that are watching this live now, if you have any questions, a big part of this is that you can ask any questions. If you're thinking about doing video content, if you want to know how certain things are done or any tips that can be had, feel free to post those questions in the comments in YouTube there. We'll be keeping an eye on them and then be able to answer those for you during this session. So I was just wondering, so with ours, Rachel, I know that we do, mostly, almost every week we do this video, and they're quite short videos, 3 to 6 minutes long. Is there a reason for that time frame?
Yeah, originally Cliniko this week was, 10, sometimes, 15 minutes. I didn't really have an exact, duration in mind. I was just like, let's get all this content in here. And then I realized through analytics, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all of them have analytics to see how long people are actually watching my videos for. And I noticed at around, 2 or 3 minutes, no one was really, continuing to watch the video. And that necessarily wasn't a sign of the content. It just said, okay, maybe we need to think about how much we need to get out there in the duration that you're normally watching. I mean, think about how long you normally watch a video for. So I kind of kept that in mind and adjusted our future videos with that duration.
Okay. And you touched on it briefly, but what channels do we post out these videos to? So you do a tip of the, Cliniko this week, and where will you post it? Where do we broadcast that?
So I post it primarily on YouTube, Facebook, and IGTV or Instagram TV. We will also share that video on Twitter, LinkedIn, and we will also sort of embed those videos into our support articles, and then sometimes even share them in our newsletters, especially if it's a new feature that we're announcing.
I guess something with that is, and I know we're going to touch on it in more detail in a little bit, but preparing and making these videos isn't easy, and it takes a fair bit of time. So you want to make sure if you go to the trouble of doing a good video that you leverage it and that you get it out there and you get it in front of as many people as you can. Otherwise, you spend this whole bunch of time for no one to see it.
Exactly.
For us, I know it'll be different for people that are watching this necessarily to Cliniko itself, but what sort of channels do we get the most engagement on? Where do you think it's most valuable?
And again, I think you touched on it. It will change for each person, but for Cliniko specifically, we see the most engagement with Facebook. I honestly thought it was going to be YouTube, but we actually have a lot more, followers and just natural engagement in Facebook than I've seen anywhere else. And we're slowly ramping up on Instagram as well. We almost have 1,000 followers in the span of a year, and that is a huge part because of our marketing and content efforts. But both IGTV and Facebook seem to be giving equal amounts of engagement.
Okay. And what about with the sort of timing? How did we get to, so we do Cliniko this week with the idea that it's a weekly thing. I don't even know if you recall because it's a while ago, but how did we come to sort of weekly as an appropriate time frame for it?
Well, it actually came from Cliniko. Since we release, updates almost weekly, it came sort of naturally where I'm like, we could create content monthly or bi-monthly, but because the content is there, I wanted to get that information out. So it naturally happened weekly, and I think that also helps with our time duration. I don't want to, put in 25 feature requests or feature releases in one, one video. It's better to sort of split that up. And again, get that continuous engagement.
Sure. And obviously we see it in your videos, the enthusiasm you have when you're doing these, but I think that it's so important that people find a way to enjoy creating this content if they're going to undertake it. Because one of the things that we talked about and I was worried about early was, what if we start this thing and it doesn't work out and it goes dead, and then it's going to look worse, not better, to just have 3 videos where we're like, all right, here's a weekly thing, and there's 3 of them and we haven't posted one for 3 years and people wonder if we're still alive. So I think that finding a way, clearly you're motivated for it and you enjoy doing it. And I think people really need to find a way to do that in their own creation of content in order to be able to stick to it for a decent period of time.
Yeah, I definitely think it's not wise to throw someone as well who you think would be good in video and just say, hey, you seem like you'd be great in front of video. Can you start recording? I think one thing that's very dangerous and scary about video is that you can see everything. If I'm not feeling good, if I'm not having a good day, it's going to come across via video. So I think you need to find someone who's enthusiastic in some way with videos. It doesn't necessarily have to be in front of the camera, but maybe you have someone who's really excited to write content for videos. I write scripts, I edit, I produce it, but not everyone has the same skill set. And again, someone might be really good in editing, but someone else might be good in front of video. So try to find those sort of bright lights in your business, and someone who, again, wants to take that initiative, because then it's almost like giving candy to a baby. They'll love it.
I guess also the content that you speak about in it, you got to work out, what are you the expert on? What is there that you're going to talk about that should be you talking about it? With Cliniko, we often think that, even like this session now, we think about what should we speak of. We're not going to teach people how to practice healthcare. That's not what we do. But on the business and tech side, that's where we're stronger, and that's where we want to share information that we think can be useful. So I think for anyone that's looking to do that kind of content as well, it's thinking back to say, like, what expertise do you have? Do you have something niche that you can do or talk about that others don't? And then, sharing that with your following.
And I think that's such a great idea, and something that I don't think many people believe in themselves, though. And I think that's another thing. You might be an expert, but you're like, oh, no one wants to hear what I have to say. You'd be surprised how many people want to hear from you or need your help. And that's something that motivates me every time I get in front of the camera, is who am I helping at the end of the day? Who will take this information and learn from it? And that brings a smile to my face more than anything. I, of course, have many tricks on how to, be energetic in front of camera, but it comes down to, again, your purpose, your sort of mindset and your goal on why you're doing these videos.
On that as well, when you talk about, like, people wanting to hear from you and do, it's probably going to be hard early on. I don't even remember what ours were like at the start, but I expect that at the start you put in a lot of effort to not many people listening as well, because it takes time to build up your audience. So I'm guessing you have to be okay to know that the first few is working towards a longer goal.
Yeah, you have to be very conscious of the fact that you might not have a following, or you might not have, an audience. But, think about who your current audience is. Even if it was just helping one person with their, customer support ticket, that was enough motivation for me to create that video. But then I found that people were finding these videos outside of when I was releasing them. Months down the line, they're like, oh, I saw your Mailchimp, video, or I saw your Cliniko This Week video. And it created this sort of relationship with someone before I even had a chance to say hello. They're like, oh, are you from the videos? And I'm like, yeah, that's me. Yep. So it was really nice to, even though they might have not watched it, 6 months ago when I only had, 5 or 10 people watching, we now have enough videos that we have that sort of rapport, and people can find us naturally.
So that's an interesting thing, that when you do a video, depending on the forum you put it on, because like something like Facebook is quite transient, but YouTube, they're there a long time. Do you intentionally do things to keep the videos a little timeless? Is there things you need to be careful of, knowing that you're recording it now, but people could be watching it in a year?
Yeah, that can be a little tricky. We used to not put dates on our videos, but it sort of helps to say, hey, this was the news back in 2017. It may not be accurate now. So some things that I will do is I'll either go back to my original video and edit the description, which you can do for at least YouTube, maybe not necessarily a boosted Facebook post. But say you created an updated video, I would honestly just update the video and say, hey, here's our updated information. Or it's stated. The good thing is a lot of videos have the dates on there. But it is something to keep in mind that a video that I might have released, years ago might not be accurate now. So I try to keep track of the videos and, again, update it or remove it if needed.
So we're getting quite a few questions coming through on the practicalities of it, which is what we want to talk about. And I just thought it's worth mentioning a little bit of context to start, is that there's often like 2 ways you might be doing content video in your marketing. And it could be the pre-recorded videos, which is primarily what Cliniko This Week, Tip of the Week, and the videos you've been doing are, where it's a pre-recorded video and edited and released, versus a live one like what we're doing right now, where there's no editing, sadly. So if something goes wrong, it's out there for all. But I think that for the majority of this, we'll be talking through the idea of these recorded videos to be used for content marketing. But of course, if you have questions around the live stuff, we can share anything, like the session we're doing today about that too. So maybe it's probably a good starting point, just an overview of the process that you go through when you're starting, assuming you do one each week. You start at the beginning of the week, you're like, all right, we're going to do one this week. What are the key steps that you go through to get a video?
Yeah, so the first step before I even get started is, what am I creating a video about? Is this a feature release? Is this a demo? Is this, tips? Is this news? Depending on my goal, that will change slightly the style of the video that I'm releasing. But for the most part, I think about what I'm creating and who is it for? Is this for patients? Is this for businesses? That will also change the style of my video quite drastically. So once I answer those two questions, I then go into sort of the writing or script process. I will sit down and I will write out everything that I want to get out there, but then I will actually do what I call a table read, which is just me reading out loud exactly what I wrote, just so I can get an idea of how I'm going to sound, and also time myself. I don't want to write, a 20-minute script, realizing that, okay, I need to get it down to 3. So I'm very conscious of that fact as well. I will do testing before I even get in front of the camera. So once I have a script, I will then go ahead and set up my recording, which we can get into. But once I record in front of the camera, I will actually do multiple takes. One thing that is really great about having a script and is a little bit different than live is if I mess up, I can take my time. It might be a 3-minute video, but it will actually take me about 20 to 25 minutes of recording because I'm going back over my script, making sure that everything has a good take. I'm thinking about that editing process ahead of time. Finally, once I have, the camera recorded, I'll then go over to my computer and I'll start editing that content. Now, that editing process might change drastically. Again, since I'm doing feature releases or demonstrations, I'll also take the next step of, recording my screen. It could be going through all the steps in Cliniko. And then in that editing process, I'll sort of align everything that you see from script to now. Another huge reason why I advertise having a script is captions. When I go into the editing process, I find that closed captions has been a huge sort of improvement for our videos, and we actually get more people finding our videos because according to Facebook and YouTube's algorithm, they're going to show more videos in general that have captions. So because I have that script, I then add the captions to the video and then publish it to YouTube.
So with
Facebook,
the captions, is that something you add to each platform? They've got a place that you can put in the script that goes with it?
Yeah, each platform has their own way of handling captions. I think the only one that doesn't have sort of a built-in caption generator is Instagram. So for Instagram TV, I am actually going frame by frame and adding in the subtitles, where as YouTube, they're really great because they have an auto-transcribed feature. You can let them sort of scroll through your video and translate it or transcribe it for you, or you can copy and paste your script and it can sort of auto transcribe, instantly adding that caption file, which I then am able to take over to Facebook and other platforms.
Okay. So coming back to the script at the start, so do you do like rough idea, like a plan for the overall thing, or like what people consider storyboard or something before you start writing out the script, or how does the scripting process work?
Yeah, thankfully, a lot of my content is coming from actual, releases from developers. They announce what was going on. So I sort of follow, let's talk about what the feature is at the very beginning of the script. The reason why I say that is typically after 30 seconds or 60 seconds, your audience is no longer going to watch unless they're engaged in some way. So I want to make sure that all of the information that you need is within the first 30 seconds. So that might be a general outline. And then I will sort of break down whatever I'm writing about. Say it's a feature release, I'm going to talk about what the feature is, I'm going to show you what the feature is, and then break down each of those steps. But I do have a general sort of storyboard with the idea of what I'm going to be showing and the natural steps that I would be taking when doing my recording process. But I would definitely, if you can, storyboard ahead of time, but make sure you get your point across within the first 30 to 60 seconds.
When you're recording the video, how are you reading the script? Where do you put the script?
Yeah, so I actually have a laptop sort of in front of me. You can kind of see right here, like I have a laptop on my desk, and then I will put it in eye line or eyesight of the camera. You can't see it in the camera, but then I will, start reading from the script, and you might not necessarily tell. Thankfully, I've had a lot of experience reading off of a script, but not many people might have that same experience. So don't feel intimidated to, again, record multiple times. Try to increase your experience with reading from a script while looking at the camera. Or you might not necessarily go down that route. I like to be on camera, but you can do a voiceover. A voiceover might seem, a lot easier for those who don't know how to read and look at the camera at the same time, or not sound as natural.
Okay. I am a little intrigued. I know you've got your equipment back there that we can go through shortly, but how are we having this chat when all your recording and lighting is behind you?
Well, thankfully, I'm using my MacBook Pro, which is sort of my primary tool. But everything else around me is what you would see if I didn't have my laptop or when I'm recording. This is just an iPad, but I might have an iPad for some other notes as well, or I'm bringing up everything I need in Cliniko to make sure that I'm matching.
So one of the first questions we did get was the importance of having good AV equipment, microphone, camera, staging. So how important is it? What do you have to use? Maybe, which things do you think are essential? Can we go through some of your equipment there?
Yeah, I will start off that the equipment that you see behind me is not the equipment that I started. In fact, when I first started, I was very overwhelmed with what was, the right equipment, what was the best equipment. And I will tell you, what was recommended to me 4 years ago, 3 years ago, is not what was recommended to me even, 2 months ago. So you can start off with something simple as just your iPhone. If you have a really good, and here's the key, a really good mobile phone, I would say a newer one that can maybe record 4K, you can get away with using your phone. And the only thing I would recommend, if you wanted to start off with your phone to make it easy, make sure you have a tripod to have that stable video. If you do want a recommendation in terms of what I'm using a DSLR. I'm specifically using the T5i Canon. And the reason why I'm using this particular camera is I love the fact that there's actually a little monitor that you can flip towards you. So I can constantly check to see how my image is looking. Am I in frame? Am I in focus? But again, you can get away with an iPhone, but once you improve your skills, once you're invested, I would say, in videos, feel free to invest into your equipment. The better equipment you have, I wouldn't say that, having 4K high quality equipment is the one thing that will make or break your videos, but it can make or break the trust that your audience has. I've seen really low quality videos that I've absolutely loved, and I've also seen really high quality videos that had really crappy audio. So it goes both ways. In terms of the audio that I'm using, I have a Blue Yeti microphone. This is directly attached to the camera, so that way when I take my footage, I have that great audio coming from the Blue Yeti, and I have that great camera work coming from the Canon.
Okay, I use the Blue Yeti as well. It's not the cheapest microphone, but it's fairly well priced for the quality that it gives, and it's got a lot of options in it as well.
But just as I said, in terms of new equipment coming out, I kid you not, Blue Yeti just released a $99 nano microphone. I would argue almost the same quality in terms of the Blue Yeti, but you just don't have as many options in terms of can I record omnidirectional or multiple directions. So there's definitely stuff that is coming out there that again wasn't there a year ago, but it's $99 US dollars.
I was going to say, we'll probably have a lot of Australians watching this, so that's somewhere like 170 Australian dollars or thereabouts, I expect.
And again, that's a huge difference between the huge Blue Yeti, but again, don't feel pressured to spend all this money until you feel like you have a plan that will equate for the money that you're investing. Just like anything that you're marketing that you're spending money on, you want to make sure that this is going to last.
Sure. So what else do you have back there that you're using in the recording?
Yeah, so I have you may notice that I have some lamps, but I also have this great light that I recently added to my repertoire, and that's the Elgato light, and it allows me to sort of control on the fly my lighting straight from my Android, straight from my iPhone, straight from my Mac. And I think lighting is something that not many people think about when it comes to great video quality. You're thinking, yeah, I have a really awesome, camera. That's all I need. But I would argue that second portion that you're not seeing is the lighting. I currently have 4 lamps on right now
Okay.
to sort of make things good. So you want to make sure that you have good lighting for whatever your scene is. Don't just rely on your camera. Feel free to add the additional lighting, but check your camera work. Don't just press the record and hope that everything will now look great.
It's interesting. There's a couple of things I learned around lighting when I started doing these live streams, and even right now my lighting's a bit ordinary because I've got a window in front of me that's putting a lot of light that I can't control. But I also have that Elgato key light, which I've been really happy with. The only downside to it is pricey for what it is. There's cheaper options, but you can control it from your computer or your phone. You can change the tone of it to be a warmer tone or more of a blue light and how strong it is. I actually find it so strong that I aim mine at the wall away from me and let the light reflect back to me from it. So I would say that if the price isn't a hold up, I think the Elgato is very good, but there's a lot of more cost effective options as well. And I think the key bit...
And those 4 lamps maybe cost me around $5 each. And so that's the lighting that I've been primarily using for the last 3 years, is just lamps and, again, natural lighting from my window. But if you want to invest, I definitely recommend the Elgato.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think you're right about the camera as well. When I did the first live stream like this, I was just using the inbuilt one in my iMac, and the quality was average. And now I'm just using a 1080 webcam at the moment, although I'm planning to do something different soon. And already the quality significantly improved, moving away from the built-in camera in the computer.
Yeah, I was going to say you look great.
So what else have you got back there? You've got your mic on a stand. You've got a laptop you use for the script. What do you use your iPhone back there for?
So this was just me showing off the tripod for mobile. Sometimes if I don't want to bring all of my equipment, say I want to do a quick video, or say I'm recording demonstrations, I actually use the iPhone to record any Cliniko through mobile. Or again, I use that as my first ever Cliniko this week camera. But what really helped was to have that tripod. Do not hold your camera expecting it to be high quality.
Something else with lighting, and I know you said you've got a few lamps on at the moment, but one of the things I found, and I haven't solved it yet for myself, is that having lighting just coming from one source can be problematic because you get shadows. So at the moment I have one of those Elgato key lights, but like I said, I've got a window also, bringing light in at the moment. But I think that typically they say maybe 2 lamps, one coming on an angle from either side of your face to avoid having shadows, is beneficial.
Yeah, you'll want to have 2 lights if possible, one from the left side, one from the right of your face, so it's sort of shining, I don't know what you want to call that angle, but you also have one more light for your background or your backlight. Is it required? No. Again, what are you using, or what is the type of content that you're releasing? Are you doing a demonstration video? Are you going live? Are we going to see your face at all? So keep that in mind. You might not necessarily need all of these lights, but it really does make a difference. And I would also argue, play around with the positioning and sort of do an example to kind of see where your shadows are hitting.
Yeah. Something else I found, and as someone that wears glasses, is before I had the light set up sort of behind my camera here, my glasses were much more reflective of the screen, and having the light for, I don't know the technical reason, but having that light set up has like cleared out the lenses where you actually see my eyes in it. And I think that if you're wearing glasses, definitely some sort of backlight is going to be important.
And then also be aware of what is reflecting in your glasses. Sometimes I usually wear glasses, but I don't in my videos, because you can see my script and my screen being reflected. So just be, again, aware of where your angles are. And
so careful what you're browsing or stuff if you're recording your video.
Yeah, that too. Exactly.
So I'm just going to have a quick look, see other questions. So software for editing. What do you use to do your editing?
So I started with, if you're using a Mac, I recommend using iMovie. iMovie comes built into, I would say, the majority of Mac OSs. It's very in my opinion, easier to pick up than most. What I moved on to is an industry standard, which is Adobe Premiere Pro. And this is available both on PC and Mac. But a new software that came out that I would also recommend if you're just getting started is Adobe Premiere Rush. And just as the name implies, if you're in a rush, if you're in a hurry, it takes a lot of the great features of Adobe Premiere Pro, but puts it in a format that, again, is easier to sort of pick up and understand. You can do multiple layers, you can do those cuts. But again, try to find something that you feel comfortable picking up. Or what I did is I said, what is the most popular video editing software? And let's type into YouTube how to use Adobe Premiere Pro. So all of the skills that I picked up in terms of editing has all been through me editing these videos and through watching YouTube.
Yep. What do you find the difference or you can do using Adobe Premiere versus iMovie that you used originally? What's compelling about it?
Yeah, so this might not be useful for everyone, but I use Adobe Photoshop a lot. I might make some screenshots for Cliniko, or I might, have effects created for me. Our designer Kelly created this incredible opening for Cliniko this week, and that uses Adobe After Effects. So what's great is that Adobe Premiere Pro can sort of combine all of those systems into one. So that's a huge thing for me. And I would also say really specific things that, again, you might not need color correction. I can, if I'm using a green screen, I can quickly sort of color code the green screen into my video. I can do multiple layers. It gives me a lot more freedom than just sort of drag and drop. And iMovie still offers some of those features, but again, when you go into the nitty gritty, say you want to pull in something from Adobe Photoshop, you don't necessarily have that ability. But there's still ways around it.
Something you mentioned in there, which I think is notable as well, is I think it really adds to the quality of the video when you have a little bit of that sort of the media and the intro clip that we have for Cliniko this week and the little jingle that goes with it. There's something about that, having a professional intro and a bit of artwork or something to go into it that makes a real difference. The same as like in our stream today, you see, Rachel and I sitting in this border with the Cliniko logo and some pattern behind that also our designer created for these sessions. Now, not everyone's got a designer on hand that can build out artwork like this, but there's plenty of places online where you can commission someone for pretty cheap to do some bespoke either intro for you or a little bit of a background and artwork or whatever it might be. And I think that it doesn't have to be very expensive and can make quite a difference to the quality of your production in the end.
And that's something that I'm quite thankful for. Again, video creation is not just a one-person job. Again, I wish I could say that I created the graphics, that I, created the, all of these elements, but, involve as many people as you feel is necessary, because the more input that you have, you're going to get off on the right foot. If I didn't have that intro, I don't know how hard it would have been to incorporate that or to gain that, brand trust that comes from that profession.
And I would bet that, I haven't looked at it ourselves, we haven't had the need, but I'll bet that if you recorded the video content that you wanted, you can even find someone online that can actually put it together and do the Adobe Premiere part for you. There's a lot of sort of online consulting and freelance workers available with a whole bunch of different skill sets. So if you feel like that's too technical and complicated for you, you can probably find someone to work with that wouldn't be too expensive and help you just put it all together into something professional.
And again, don't feel intimidated to be a student either. I literally had never opened Adobe Premiere Pro in my life, and I almost cried when I had to just make a simple cut. I was like, I don't know how to do this, and the program crashed. But I think by having that experience, by playing around with Adobe Premiere Pro, I gained more confidence than when I first started. And being able to have those resources online, those YouTube videos, guides, even just, it's such a widely used system that I was able to ask questions on forums and get an immediate answer. And so, while it can be intimidating, don't feel like you shouldn't play around with the software, because you might find that you either discover a new skill or you can incorporate that in other ways. I'm
also having a look. We've got a good tip in our comment section from Martina from our team that's also saying DaVinci Resolve is a good free editing software that she has used.
And I don't know if it's still around, but I used to use Windows Movie Maker on Windows. That was a free software for a while. Anytime I would like edit my vacation videos, I was using Windows Movie Maker. So that's another free one if you're on Windows specifically.
So there's a question specifically around when you're doing the screen shares. So is that a case that you're just, what are you recording your screen with to do those?
Yeah, so I'm on Mac, so there's a software called QuickTime Movie Player. I didn't know that this was a built-in software on Mac, but it allows you to do not only movie recording. So say you didn't have a camera, you could record through your Mac's camera. But I use QuickTime Movie Player to record my screen, and it allows me to control everything from the quality to the length. I then go in and edit that further. So in terms of matching that is all manual on my end. Okay. So like it's perfectly synced, but that's actually just through editing.
I know a tool I used to use, I haven't used for some time, was ScreenFlow Pro, which is from a company called Telestream. I think that's on Windows and Mac, and it was pretty good specifically around screen recording. And it also, it worked a little bit like a combination of screen recording and iMovie to let you piece it together and add soundtracks and things like that.
And you just reminded me when I did the original video that I brought to the meetup, that was through Camtasia. And Camtasia is very similar to ScreenFlow, where you can actually just press record, and it will allow you to not only record your screen, but record your voice as well. So if you wanted to do a voiceover where it's simultaneous, or maybe you're doing a PowerPoint, Camtasia is another one that I would also check out.
So there was a question before about, I don't know if you've had experience in this, using a short video to introduce something and to direct them to a longer video, like using it almost like a teaser, I guess, to get them to be able to spend the time on your longer video. Have we tried anything like that?
I don't think we've tried anything like that. We've done a lot of ads where we've, done call to actions where it's like we want you to go to, the landing page and maybe sign up for a trial, or we want you to go to a particular feature page to learn more. But I've never done an intro to a longer video. It really just depends on what that longer video would be. I could see that being really useful for onboarding. So, I might say, hey guys, welcome to Cliniko. I'm going to walk you through all of the aspects of Cliniko, and then that goes on to a natural longer video. But just be careful what your intent is, because you might lose your audience if they're redirected to another video that they have to watch.
Someone else asking about the ideal length for a promo video. I don't even know, because we really focus, I would say, more on like educational content videos more than promotion, with the idea that there'll be a side benefit of seeing Cliniko and being aware of us. Have you done, I don't even remember, have we done any promo videos that's like really an advertising kind of thing?
Yeah, we've done like 2 or 3 where, you might not see these hosted on YouTube or Facebook, but say you were watching a YouTube video, this is an automatic ad that would automatically appear. So with those, I have created them, and I would say, depending on the platform, anywhere between 15 to 30 seconds is actually fast. The right. Yeah, it can be very fast, and I thought that was, very intimidating. But you can skip a YouTube ad after 5 seconds. Yeah. So so I would say 15 to 30 seconds is great if you don't know who you're necessarily advertising to. If you know who you're advertising to and it's very specific, don't feel like you have to limit yourself to 30 seconds. But that has been the sort of recommended, if not average times that I've seen for ads. Specific.
It's a good point on capturing their attention right away, right at the beginning, because I know that like if I'm watching something on YouTube and I see that you can skip an ad, I'm watching that countdown and I'm ready to go. So they really need to capture your attention in those first few seconds if you're not going to click skip ad.
And I think that's the same case for longer videos too. Even if it's 3 minutes, you want to be able to get your point across in the first 15 to 30 seconds, because just like that ad, unless you're specifically searching for something and you magically found it with that video, you're going to skip on to the next one.
Okay, let me see what other questions we have coming through. Oh, so someone was asking about Facebook specifically. Do we just post it to YouTube and share that to Facebook, or do we upload it to Facebook directly?
So we used to share from YouTube, but we found that the analytics were actually completely, I wouldn't say different, but we saw better engagement when we posted directly to Facebook than when we had posted to YouTube and shared. So I'll actually post to both YouTube and Facebook separately for that exact reason. Facebook, what's really nice is if you decide to upload a video, they actually have a task list of what they recommend you do and follow in order to have the best engagement. So you'll see a little checkbox that says, is your video 3 minutes or longer? Do you have closed captions? Things like that. And I really appreciate Facebook doing that, but when you share a post, you don't always get that much control and freedom. You can't choose your cover for your Facebook, and you might want to engage differently on YouTube than you do Facebook. You might not even want to share the same videos depending on who your audience is, what your goal is.
That makes a lot of sense. I remember also originally when we started any videos, we used Vimeo in the beginning, and then we switched across to YouTube sometime later. I think, if I remember correctly, the primary decision was around SEO, because YouTube being a Google product and they give some benefit and SEO gain for using YouTube over Vimeo. How do you find YouTube, I guess, in general? Do you find it a convenient platform? Because you said it's the primary place you plan to put stuff. Are you still happy with that choice?
Yes and no, because I mean, 83, I think, according to HubSpot's, marketing, report of 2020, 83% of viewers prefer to view their content from YouTube. But just like Facebook, just like Instagram, they have different algorithms. So we might not get as much engagement with Cliniko videos. If you think about how you would want to watch Cliniko videos now, would you type in Cliniko on YouTube, or would you, go and talk to support? So that, I think, kind of came into play, is that our audience is very specific and they're trying to find these videos in a way that might not be best for YouTube. I do find YouTube is still great because we're getting a lot of engagement in ways that I didn't see before. I once created a video on how to do double opt-in in Mailchimp. That might not be something Cliniko specific, but because we had audiences looking for Mailchimp, we had a lot more engagement than we did before, and people were asking, wait, you can do double opt-in, in Cliniko? Oh, great. So that's sort of having the content out there, again, increase the engagement, where I probably wouldn't have posted on YouTube, previously, but people still find us and are searching for us in ways that I didn't.
I guess something else, I don't know what the stats are now. I remember some time ago that YouTube was the second biggest search engine in the world after Google. I don't know if it's still the case, but maybe also sometimes it gets underestimated how much time people are really searching in YouTube. So having a presence there is important, like having a presence in your website on Google.
And the great thing is once you post to YouTube, you do, again, have that option to share. So a lot of times we'll post to YouTube, but then we'll embed those videos into our help guides, or we'll, link to those videos when we're, answering questions. So there's still ways to drive traffic to YouTube if you don't see that engagement naturally. Because it is very algorithm and search engine based. So you want to have that search engine optimization with keywords like you do with, other content you release.
I'm wondering as well, people that are watching this now and that have seen Cliniko this week, where did you find it? How do you see it? Is it that it pops up in your Facebook feed? Do you look for it on YouTube? Do you find it in posts we make? Anyone that does see it, I'm just curious how you come across it and where you do watch it. And also, just on the topic of YouTube, obviously we're on YouTube right now doing this session. And the really thought process behind that was we wanted something scalable that a lot of people could tune in without having to download any software to watch. We originally did the first couple on Zoom, but as you might have seen our blog posts, there was some security issues around Zoom that we didn't want to be encouraging people to download it in order to watch these live streams. And also, Facebook's probably the other obvious choice to do a live event like this where people can comment and ask questions. And I wouldn't rule out it happening in the future, but again, I would say maybe more an ethical stance than anything with some of things Facebook does. We weren't keen to bring a new event to that platform, so we're looking for something a little more agnostic perhaps of that. And I think it works well enough. I'm not sure that YouTube is absolutely the best for these sessions, and I know people need to create an account and log in to do the commenting, but so far I think we found it good for live events.
And I think there's other use cases as well. Like you might not want to post publicly. for whatever reason, say you want to have these private videos for your clients, maybe you want to do something personal. I know it would mean the world to me if my favorite brand or business or clinic or anyone would send me a personalized video, but you don't want that, public on YouTube in any way. So what I like about YouTube is their unlisted feature. You can post something that is private and get a shareable link, and only the person with that link can see the video. So I think there's some use cases for YouTube, even if you didn't want to go public just yet. Of course, you can then make those videos, public at a later date, but don't feel like you always have to public or push things to the public.
Yeah. I see some questions as well about us creating some sort of course for people to learn more about this, because it seems to be difficult for them. I would say it's unlikely we're going to do a full course in the way that it's described in the comments there, mostly just because it's not our core business, and with limited time we have to spend on putting out educational information amongst the other things we do. I don't think we could do it justice, and particularly when there's people that are actually dedicated to that. So I definitely can see the need for it. I think that if this feels like it's too complicated and like something you wouldn't have the time to do, there is possibilities to get companies involved that help. There's plenty of companies out there that help you with content marketing. And if that's not something you wanted to do yourself, you could still use tips and ideas that we've discussed today and bring them to someone else to help you implement it. Or I think there is probably people that really experts in the education space and might already have some online material in courses on this topic as well. I definitely see the need, but I think it's unlikely that we would go down that kind of path ourselves. I'm just going to have a quick flick through, see any other questions. So something else that I wanted to check in about is most of our videos have a personal touch in it, and by that I mean you have yourself in the corner of the screen talking. They can see you while you do so, and I know there's a lot of promo videos that are like explain a video that's maybe animated or something like that, or they could just be PowerPoint slideshow type things in a video. I personally really like to see the person that's talking. I think it's much more engaging and you can get a connection with it. What are your thoughts around that? Because obviously you've chosen to be face to the camera, and it's not as easy for you to do. It would be nice if you could be hidden away, like you said, reading a script, not have to get ready to be on the camera.
Yeah, no, it was really intimidating at first, especially because of the comments. You're getting these comments like, "Oh, I love your background," and you're like, "Oh, they can see my background." Like, you're not really conscious of like how much you can truly see on camera. So I know it's not an easy decision for everyone, but having that personal sort of touch really has made a difference. I felt like even when I am lucky enough to run across someone who's seen a video, like just saying like, "Oh, you're the girl from the videos," and it kind of adds this personal touch that not many brands can get if you're not necessarily saying like, "Hey, here's Joel, here's Rachel, here's so-and-so." So I think there's a huge advantage of showing the personal side of your business. Yes, it can be intimidating, but like I discussed earlier, think about why you're getting on camera, and hopefully that will sort of help the anxiety of being on camera. But for me, it also was just a natural part of my process as well that sort of built in. If I didn't, start creating videos with, the idea that my face was going to be seen, it would be a completely different style video as well.
And I think that's something that you touched on there as well, is like the sort of personality of your video and your branding that comes with it. And we kind of, with Cliniko, we don't put on a business face generally to do the things. We've got Rachel here. You're based in the US, and you're doing this out of your own room, your office, your bedroom, whatever it might be that you're recording in. And there's some questions about green screen, which we will get to in a moment. But we choose, for the most part, not to use it. And we're very happy that, what's in your background is the things you like, and, what they see on the screen is like the real Rachel, not a professional Cliniko version, something like that.
And again, you might not necessarily have that sort of energy, but I think a lot of people don't realize how much we want to see your face, especially during these times. If you can sort of show your clients, your patients that like, "Hey, I'm still here. I'm a real person." You'll find I think after a while you'll find that when people do engage with you, it's a different level when they have, again, that face that they can put to the business. And I think, again, it's scary, but it's exactly for that reason. We're afraid to show who we truly are and our personality and associate that with a name brand as well.
And a very hypothetical tip I have for people is, even if perhaps, you know, with COVID going on, you're in lockdown, you can't get to the hairdresser and things are a little messy, you can always just put on a beanie and that solves that problem. Purely hypothetical, of course. So coming back to your background, because there's been plenty of comments on YouTube videos and things, I don't want to call them toys, I don't want to use an inappropriate term, but what is it that you have in the background primarily of your videos?
Yeah, so these are all collectibles. They're all they're all things that I've just had over literally probably the span of 15 to 20 years. I was really afraid to kind of show off my personality at first. Like, I thought people were going to kind of judge me for it, but I find that I enjoy being in this room. It has so much color, so much personality, and you kind of see that reflected in my videos. There's not a time that I walk in here and I go, oh, it's so drab, it's so boring. And I've sort of intentionally added a lot of color and pop, pun intended, to sort of just have fun and create a space that like means something to me, and hopefully, you know, maybe puts a smile to your face as well.
So anyone that watches your videos, and it's been commented on many times, you have like an exuberance and enthusiasm in the videos and a cheer that you bring to it. Do you, like, I'm just expecting that before you start recording, you're like doing some laps around the room and getting revved up and something. Do you have like, that said, I even know, you know, from obviously our times in person that you're always like that, so you don't even need a rev up. But do you do anything? Do you have like techniques or something to get yourself in the right mood or in the zone before you start recording?
Yeah, there's literally so many things you can do. Like I said, one thing is to surround or make your environment to a level that you want to express your emotions. I don't know if that made sense, but I like to express myself visually, so that way when I come into that space, I would hopefully be affected emotionally. So I like to surround myself with color. The second thing I do, and you might not be able to see this, but every time I record, every single time, I put a photo behind my camera. You won't be able to see it. You can't see it now. I have something right there, but it makes me laugh hysterically when I see it. And it's sort of a trick. A lot of times, you know, when you're on camera, all your emotions can be seen. So I'll look at this photo and it instantly brings a smile to my face. I won't reveal that photo, but yeah, find something that brings you joy. I think that's the big thing here. And you'll find that you can naturally sort of, hopefully, bring that joy out when you're on camera. And if not, you know, fake it until you make it. There are definitely videos where I was having incredibly horrible, tough times, but I kept reiterating, what am I here for? I'm here to help. I'm here to, you know, hopefully make someone's day better. And in turn, that sort of reflects in how I hopefully appear on camera.
Right. So obviously you're not going to reveal what this photo is, but that doesn't stop people making guesses in the comments. So feel free to have a go at that. Now we've got some questions around the green screen side. One was, is my background real? So my background is legit, no green screen behind me. This is a space that we use for team meetups when the world is in lockdown. So it's quite a nice area legitimately. So Rachel, on the side of your wall, we can see that you've got a green screen there. I have inside tip. I know you've got it recently. Have you used it yet? What's the plans for it? Do you want to talk about the green screen at all?
Yeah, so I recently got this green screen, mainly because I was so afraid of traveling and not being able to bring my studio with me. So one thing about a green screen that is incredible is, like you said, you don't know if your background is real or not. Of course, you can have a solid background. You can, you know, have fun, play around with it. But what I use it for primarily are just for those videos where maybe I don't want you to see my incredible, like, crazy background. I want you to be focused in on the content that I'm releasing. So green screen is a great way where maybe you don't have a great background, now you can fake one. Or maybe you want to change your background for a specific purpose. So I have some great plans for the green screen, and you'll hopefully see those in future videos.
What green screen do you use? Is there a model or something?
Yeah, this actually came with a software pack for like Avid or something like that. But this is just a green screen. Like, I don't know if I can show you. It's just a little do you call it? Fabric.
Okay.
A little green piece of fabric, and a lot of software. You can get away with even a green piece of paper or a blue piece of paper, and your editing software, particularly Adobe Premiere, can sort of match that green screen color and then edit it out for you.
Okay, excellent. So I think we've got through the majority of the questions there, and I hope that we've provided some information that will help people if they're planning to get started with some video content marketing. If other questions come up, either you think of them later or you're not watching this live and you still want to ask, this is posted on our YouTube channel, on our Cliniko YouTube channel. This will be there. We'll still monitor the comments afterwards. As you probably worked out, Rachel's heavily involved on our YouTube channel, so she will be able to see them too. So any questions you have for Rachel, please feel free to still post them in the comments and we can keep the discussion going there. I also just want to let you know that next week, I think it's Thursday next week, I'm not 100%, but next week I'm going to do another Cliniko and coffee session. And that's just basically, I will make some coffee and answer any questions you have for me, anything related to Cliniko, our business, whatever you like. We did one a few weeks ago, we had a lot of questions. And doing so again, it's going to be in the evening time, Australian time, and in the morning, UK time. And I couldn't tell you all the time zones everywhere else, but keep an eye out for that if you're interested and you just want to ask me any topic you like. Thank you so much, Rachel. This was a really enjoyable and informative chat. It's so nice to get to talk to you on this.
And just thank you for inviting me, Joel. Again, this is all new to me, or at least was new to me at some point. So it's just surreal to be able to talk about video editing 3 years later. So hopefully, I can't wait until 20 years from now.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone. And also, just quickly, there is a feedback form that's being posted in the comments. If you don't mind to fill that out, that helps us a lot. Thanks, everyone, and goodbye.